It's March 3rd, and Jalen Ramsey is still a Ram. This is RamView.
It's hot out there. Let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Hold on,
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView FanView, the March 3rd, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's 661-206-6990. Or check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right. I went to the Hawaiian shirt because I feel like wearing a Hawaiian shirt even when it's cold outside. And if the Rams trade Jalen Ramsey anytime in the next 12 days or anytime in the next few months, it's going to be even colder than the weather's been here in SoCal. So, kind of cool. Finally seeing some talk on Leonard Floyd. I like Leonard Floyd. He's great against the run. He's so against the rush. He's been a solid performer, right? But the dude's hitting 30. He's in his 30s, and he's scheduled to make 22 rocks this year. That's what you give an elite edge performer. Leonard Floyd's not an elite edge performer, right? And you don't want to lose Floyd because, as I said, if the Rams lose Jalen Ramsey in the secondary, they're left with nothing. If you lose Leonard Floyd, you're literally left with nothing. There is nothing left except Michael Hoyt. And Michael Hoyt runs 6'5", 310, and there's been conversations that I've read that the Rams might move him back down inside to the interior because of his size, and then maybe once in a while flex him out on the edge. So if he goes in, that means there's zero experience on either edge if Leonard Floyd is dealt. And so that's something to be considering if Leonard Floyd is cut, Leonard Floyd is dealt. Now, it's not good business right now for the Rams to cut Leonard Floyd. It's only a $3 million savings and an egregious something like 19 rocks type of hit against the dead cap. But if you cut or trade him after June 1st, it's a savings of 15.5 and obviously a significantly less dead cap hit. And here's the deal. You can't replace Jalen Ramsey. Maybe if you're in the top 10 of the draft, that's why I'm always lobbying futilely for the Detroit Lions 6th overall. Maybe if you're in the top 10, you could replace Jalen Ramsey this year. And maybe down the road, you can find someone to kind of take on Jalen Ramsey's spot. But you can find an edge rusher a lot sooner than you can find a Jalen Ramsey, because Jalen Ramsey is more than just a shutdown corner. Jalen Ramsey that guy's something special. And Leonard Floyd's good, but you can replace Leonard Floyd. All the buzz right now is about Nolan Smith and his performance at the Combine today, the guy out of Georgia, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But the Rams could move Leonard Floyd, but the problem is he's going to make 22 this year, and he's in his 30s. Someone said, the Rams could trade him. Who's going to want that? I don't know who would want that, right? So they're in a real awkward spot right now with Leonard Floyd, because I think you can get rid of him and replace him much easier than you could Ramsey. And as you look at this, the Rams' salary cap issue, Bobby Wagner's release will bring the Rams down to about the $9 million mark of being over the salary cap. The Tyler Higbee release that I've been lobbying for takes them down to just under 6, where they're over the cap by just under 6 million, 6 rocks, right? Now, the ideal restructures are to Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald. The ideal restructure with Kupp would come to a 10.4 savings against the cap. Aaron Donald 6.1. The Rams could actually come out of the release of maybe Higbee, the release the release of Wagner, with restructures of Cup and Donald, they could actually come out 11.3 under the cap, and that means they got room to work with. But something like 8 million is going to be needed to go to the 2023 draft class, and so that leaves you with what, a little over 3 to work on free agency and deciding what you want. And honestly, I think the Rams have enough players in house, except for edge. They really need some help on the edge, and I think you can draft corners to help out with Kendrick and Durant and this guy that used to play for the Rams on defense named Robert Rochelle, who they seem to have lost faith in. So the question goes, okay, sounds really good. Why would a player hesitate to restructure when sometimes there's a sweetener in the deal? They're still going to get their dough. And usually, I'm not speaking in the Rams case here, but usually it's not the player, but the team that is hesitant to restructure. The contracts are built to be restructured. They are. But restructured contracts give the teams cap space in the present, in the now. But the problem does bone, because a restructured deal, and I'm not a finance guy, and I don't want to lose anybody here. A restructured deal converts part of a player's salary into a signing bonus, right? And the cap hit from that bonus can be spread out. The fancy word here is amortized or something. I like spread out. That can be spread out over the length of the contract, and that lowers the current cap number. But not every team wants to do that. And the Rams might be one. It's one thing to say blank those picks and trade your picks regarding the future, but it's another thing also to kick the can down the road and eat your cap space up heading into 2024, 2025, and beyond. But this is the game they play, right? Because there was a significant jump in the league salary cap this year. There are, barring a pandemic, there are incremental increases every year in the salary cap. So there's this, don't go too far, it's coming up. Don't go too far, it's coming up. But either way, to get to that point, a team has to decide, hey, I'm willing to kick the can down the road because the championship window is still open. And that's where the Rams are at right now. What are they telling us? By trading Jalen Ramsey, are they saying that this window is closed? Because you're not going to replace him. I could see a creative maneuver with Leonard Floyd, maybe a restructure, I don't know, or some kind of moving off of him down the road. But if you're getting rid of Jalen Ramsey, I think you're kind of saying the window's closed. And that's a great question. Because if I'm a player, if I'm Kupp, Donald, Floyd, anybody on the Rams right now, and I've got my ring and I've made my bag, I'll do it. Because at this stage in my career, late 20s, a lot of mileage, hitting my 30th birthday, I want to compete. I want to make my final years worth something, right? So if you're dealing with Ramsey, or if you're just trading him, and you're Aaron Donald, you have to ask, do I want to stick around and knock helmets to be maybe a wild card team? Or do I want to go someplace where I can play? And my feeling is, unless something truly amazing comes in the pending Ramsey deal that everyone says is going to happen, then you rip off the Band-Aid now or at midseason and ask Donald where he wants to be traded and max out his value. See if there's a team, Buffalo, somebody that is in the hunt for a Super Bowl title, somebody in the AFC, because the AFC is brutal. See if there's somebody there that is willing to really cough up some serious capital to take Aaron Donald. I know that's an emotional thing for Ram fans to deal with because we're still caught up in a world where we want our stars to begin and end their career with the Rams. Well, you got a slight dose of that last year when Robert Woods was traded. And honestly, if everyone else is going and Aaron Donald remains, you're not going to win a title with just Aaron Donald playing defensive tackle, right? The Rams had pieces around Merlin Olsen for 15 years, had the fearsome foursome, right? Had Jack Pardee, had Jack Reynolds, had Isaiah Robertson. They had pieces around him. They never won a title with Merlin Olsen, all right? A DT is really important, guy like Aaron Donald's critically important. But if the Rams are going to make these moves and not get back significant compensation for a Jalen Ramsey, then let's just rip off the Band-Aid now, right? And again, what did we do? The question is, I'm sure Les Snead and McVay and all the smart guys are doing it, is that are they evaluating what does the window look like in the NFC, right? Can we compete? I think with this Rams team, a healthy Matthew Stafford, the offensive line issue last year, I am really hesitant to say, outside of Bobby Evans, I'm not going to use the suck word, okay? I'm just going to use banged up. When you're pulling Matt Skura out of, working at a kiosk at the mall and asking him to be your left guard for 6 weeks, yeah, that's a real sucky thing to have happen. But I'm not looking at that as a permanent thing. David Edwards went down. He's a free agent now. Tremaine Ingram went down. Logan Bruss went down. We know everybody went down. It was an unprecedented season of injuries along the offensive line, unprecedented in the Super Bowl era. That's not going to repeat itself. The biggest question on that offensive line is Joe Noteboom's ruptured Achilles. Now, if he's fully healed, then we're okay. We're good to go. If he's not, then we do have to do some talking and reset. Is Alaric Jackson ready to take that spot? We could have a conversation there. But when you look at this Rams roster, if everybody's still healthy, they have a shot in the NFC. You know how I know? Because we're going to look at the NFC right now. Seattle, will everything come together again like it did this last year? And is it still going to be Geno Smith? Because let's remember, Geno Smith had a really great year, a great year. But if Geno Smith comes back, he's still Geno Smith. He's still Geno Smith. And maybe if the Rams had a little bit better, a little tighter of a defensive scheme, even with all the injuries and breakdowns, they probably would have beat the Seahawks twice. Just saying. Or are they going to let Geno Smith go and going to reset and take a quarterback? There was a great interview with Pete Carroll where saying, hey, the Seahawks never draft at number 5. We have to evaluate and see if we want to take a quarterback right now because we're never usually this high. We're usually drafting late in the first round, and he's right. But they take a new quarterback. They take a Will Levis. They take an Anthony Richardson. At 5 are the Colts going to let either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud slip past them? Are the Seahawks going to trade up for one of those guys? It's going to cost them some capital. And then you got the half year or so where they still got to adjust. They still got to figure out if that quarterback's ready to play this year and can he compete this year? And it's going to be a learning curve. They're going to have to spend half a season or more getting this quarterback up to speed, learning how to play in the NFL, no matter who it is. So will the Seahawks repeat what they did? Maybe. I don't know. Frisco, who's going to be the quarterback? Christian McCaffrey's another year older. Deebo Samuel's another year older. George Kittle's another year older. Trent Brown's another year older. Everyone's getting older. Their window is shrinking. That's why that loss in Philly was marvelous. It's just all that effort, all that energy, all that stuff. They don't draft until the late in the 3rd round this year, and everyone's getting older. And so it's kind of neat to see what's going on in Frisco. And you don't know where they're going to be by week 10. They might be another mash unit because of the style they play. Arizona, is Arizona going to stand in the Rams' way? Burn, baby, burn. That's a dumpster fire. They played the over-the-hill gang, brought in all the old guys, and all the old guys got old and are gone. And then your money is all tied up in Kyler Murray, who, no fault of his own, got hurt. Colt McCoy. Really, Colt McCoy? Unless he's playing against Raheem Morris's defense, he's still Colt McCoy, right? And he's hurt too. He's got the noggin issue with the concussions. Falcons, they need a quarterback. They got to go with Desmond Ridder. They're going to draft a quarterback. I've seen Anthony Richardson, but that still takes time to develop. So no, not the Falcons. The Panthers, maybe they'll likely get a quarterback, but who are they going to get? If they come into the season with Sam Darnold, Matt Corral, or PJ Walker, sorry, I'm not worried about Carolina. And even then, it's going to take time for a Derek Carr, if he ends up there, or whoever ends up there, to really get going. Carson Wentz? Baker Mayfield? Really? Do you think they've already done the Baker Mayfield thing in Carolina? I don't think they want to take another retread number 1. I think they want to get their hands on a legitimate quarterback. The Saints, that party's over. They got cap troubles. They got all sorts of issues. And Andy Dalton, if he could play against Raheem Morris every week, he'd be great. But there are other defenses in this league. Tampa Bay, Kyle Trask is the only quarterback under contract. They're going to draft somebody, but Tampa Bay is not a threat this year. The Cowboys, they got cap struggles. They got aging players and Smith and Elliott, and they still have Jerry Jones, right? Jerry Jones is still there. And as long as Jerry Jones is still there, it's the Dallas Cowboys, okay? And nothing really too fearsome. The Washington Texans, Sam Howell, there's going to be growing pains. It'll be interesting to see what Eric Bieniemy does. But is that a team to absolutely go, man, they are standing in our way, right? I don't know if it's called FedEx Field anymore. Does the NFC title run through FedEx? I don't think so. Is Joe Theismann coming in through that door? Are the Hogs on that offensive line? Do we have to tackle John Riggins? No, I'm not too worried about the Taxkins right now. The Giants could be trouble. That Giants team is really developing, but quarterback is an issue. I don't know if they want to give $45 million to Daniel Jones, but that's what Daniel Jones wants, and it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do. But the Giants aren't exactly there yet. The Eagles, yeah, they're trouble. Jalen Hurts is a legitimate quarterback, but likely they'll be taking a step back. They're not going to probably re-sign Miles Sanders. They're using a bunch of players on their defense, and Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey are all a year older, and one or both of them are contemplating retirement. So the Eagles will take a step back. The Vikings, their quarterback is and they got a lousy defense, right? The Bears are suspect about everything. Everything about the Bears is suspect, right? We don't know what they're going to do. They'll probably still draft Jalen Carter after everything he did just this past week. Packers, Aaron Rodgers actually may hurt them more by coming back than not coming back. And his market is dwindling in terms of who's going to want him and who wants that contract that's bumping next to 60 rocks for a 39-year-old quarterback, who fancies himself as the Zen master. I don't know if I'm the Packers, I want him back, but you're kind of hamstrung. So I'm not afraid of the Packers, unless, again, for another year, the Rams have to go up to Green Bay. And then finally, there's the Lions. Now, that's a good team. That's a team that's ascending, but Jared Goff doesn't scare me. And the other thing about the Lions, too, is if the Rams had to play them in a playoff game, the Lions decided many moons ago they didn't want to play outside anymore. And so the Southern California team gets to go into a dome stadium. The Vikings, even if they rise above again this year, win all those tight games again this year, they play in a dome. So they don't pose any real threat to the Rams. Bears are suspect. Packers, maybe, but they're fading. So with Sean McVay, who proved he's just a fantastic coach, Matthew Stafford, a healthy offensive line, and a wide receiver room that's healthy, I see an open window. I do. The Rams still have an open window in the NFC. Now, it's another question. Can they beat the Chiefs? Can they beat the Bengals in the rematch? Can they beat the Bills? Can they beat those teams? That's another thing. That's a whole other question to have answered, but I'd like to get to the Super Bowl and find out. So with all those guys, keep Jalen Ramsey, keep Aaron Donald, restructure those contracts. The Rams might have a bigger problem than salary cap issues or players aging. You know what that issue is? Your defense. Change your defense. Okay, long way to go. I went full long on that opening. This is my commercial time. My name is Joe Terozzi, and I spent 21 years as a sports writer. Was one of the founding writers at Mid-Valley Sports. I dabbled around at some different places over the years, websites, magazines, newspapers, and at Mid-Valley Sports, we kind of found our mark. And my guys are covering the NFL now after I left. And so I still stay in touch with them. And I do this. I do the RamView show. I write books. I do all this now because I supplement my income as I am a pastor of a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith. And you can find us right here on YouTube at BurbankFaithVirtual.com. And you ever want to reach out, not BurbankFaithVirtual.com, but Burbank Faith Virtual. It's a channel here on YouTube. But if you want to reach out that way, feel free to reach out that way. But that's what I do. And I write books to supplement my income as well as do this. And these are my two high school football novels, Tangent Dreams and Temple City Company of the Ages. This is not a direct sequel to this. It's more like a follow-up the following season. And both these books, these are my 2 best sellers, believe it or not. I've written 5 other books, but these are the ones that are the most popular. You can find these on Amazon. They got some good reviews. You should check it out. Available on soft copy and on Kindle. So please check them out. My guy, Pat Cherry, does my artwork on these, and there are great stories behind all of them in terms of how these books came together. But please check those out. I got bills to pay, right? I got bills to pay. I'm not going to get my mansion facing the ocean off the Cambrian coast if I don't sell a few more books. So hook a brother up. Okay, we're at the 20-minute mark, and this back half will be a little bit slower or shorter. So mock draft season, everybody has 2. I saw a really horrible mock draft, and I'm going to share that with you. At some point, I'll do my own, but everybody does a mock draft, and after a while, it's like, man, I just rather read what some guys in the business are doing than just everybody, but you can do it. Pro Football Focus, I think it's the Pro Football Network, and some other places offer a mock draft simulator. It's a lot of fun. They'll let you make trades. It's really fascinating, and at least gives you an idea of what players are out there. So to me, the best part of the NFL draft are days 2 and 3. Those are the best part. The Academy Awards send up on draft night is boring as all get out to me. I hate the red carpet. I hate them glitzing up something that's NFL football, but that's what the NFL is essentially these days. The NFL really needs a real hard punch in the nose to get back to reality, but they're always going to, kiss up to the culture, right? So check out those mock drafts. Some interesting things that I saw in those mock drafts, that players who've risen and fallen, I've been arguing about Carson Wentz or Baker Mayfield on a save my career dirt cheap deal, and the 2 quarterbacks I wouldn't mind if the Rams could find a way, not at 36, but if they could find a way to grab a Tanner McKee or a Hendon Hooker, maybe as a quarterback for the future they're developing. That might be kind of cool as Stafford plays out the string. That might be kind of neat, to see one of those guys come in and let's just say Stafford goes another 5 years. One of the things where the Patriots made a lot of hay is they drafted other quarterbacks when Brady was in his prime. Those guys play 1 or 2 games in the Patriot system. They win, and then everyone thinks they're great. Ryan Mallett, Jimmy G. I think Jimmy G's better than Ryan Mallett, but Jacoby Brissett, remember, had a couple of nice games during the Brady suspension, and they got some real capital when they dealt him to the Colts. So so there's value there in drafting a quarterback and maybe developing him, if not for your future, but to parlay them into future picks down the road. Something to think about there. This is Les Snead's 12th draft with the Rams, and there were some misses early, but there's been some really good stuff since then. But here's a couple of things you need to know before, as you fire up the stove and say, fire Les Snead. In 11 drafts, he's drafted over 100 players, or close to 100 players. In 11 drafts, Les Snead has drafted 10 safeties, right? TJ McDonald, remember TJ McDonald, 2013, Maurice Alexander, C.J. Bryant, who didn't really get any time with the team, John Johnson, Taylor Rapp, Nick Scott, Terrell Burgess, Jordan Fuller, Quentin Lake, and Russ Yeast. And guess how many of those guys got a second contract? I'll pause. I'll wait for the guy from Missouri to whine about Minka Fitzpatrick and his beloved Steelers out there, how great Minka is, but I ain't paying 20 rocks for a safety, and the Rams sure aren't either. The Rams aren't even paying 10 rocks for a safety. 10 safeties in 11 drafts. And here's the other interesting one. Something like 96 to 100 players the Rams have drafted. I got to double check that. You know how many centers they've drafted? As you're into the Creed Humphrey, the greatest Ram of all time market, the Rams have only drafted 1 center, and that was Brian Allen in 2018. And I think I'll double check, but I think it's with a pick they got from where was it? Was it Miami for Robert Quinn? And so 4th round, Brian Allen in 2018. He's the only center that has ever been drafted. So when you think of this Cody Mock and is it Schmitz and all these guys that you're projecting, just look at Les Snead's track record, right? I mean, if he sees another Creed Humphrey out there, if you get a second bite at that apple, I hope they take him, right? as I said, the latest mock draft was bad. But as I looked at that mock draft, you're always looking for trends. And Nolan Smith, the Georgia edge guy, who at different times since the end of the Super Bowl, right, since the end of the playing part of the season, has been high first round, low second round, has fallen to the Rams in some mock drafts. He had an outstanding combine performance, and so I've seen him jump all the way up to midway to about 20 in the first round, right? Because everyone loves his speed. Hendon Hooker, who I originally saw somewhere at about 99, then I saw him at 69, is now trending at about 46. Tanner McKee, the Stanford quarterback. Hendon Hooker, Tennessee. ACL injury kind of took him off the everyone's radar. He's still healing up from that. Tanner McKee, the Stanford quarterback, had a lousy year. The Cardinal had a lousy year, but Tanner McKee looked good even in 2021. I've seen him jump. I saw him as high as 39, and so his market is climbing. Steve Avila, the guard from TCU, who another mock draft had the Rams taking at number 36. I saw him all the way back at 51 today. And then Zach Charbonnet, the UCLA running back, who I saw inside the top 40. I saw him all the way down to 71. And I thought that was interesting. I read a profile on him, and some are projecting him just as a career backup. And I think my friend Steve Ramirez, the old San Gabriel Tribune guy, would disagree with that. He's a UCLA honk, and he prefers Zach Charbonnet, as he corrected me on that. Okay, let's look at this horrible mock draft. This horrible mock draft begins with the Rams taking Tuli Tuipulotu from USC. Now, I've seen another mock draft with him going to the Rams at 36, edge guy. But his weight last year was 290, and I guess he's measuring in now at 266, which makes him more of an edge performer. You don't put a 290 edge guy out there unless he's really tall, unless he's Michael Hoyt, right? And so there's talk about how his draft stock is going up because it looks like he could perform on the edge. But here was the thing where the mock draft got really wonky, and I'm not going to talk trash about who posted it. I will praise those who do a great mock draft, like Cam DeSilva from Rams Wire yesterday, or Wednesday. But it got really wonky. At 69, it had the Rams taking Ed Morris, another edge rusher out of Michigan. Then at 136, it had the Rams taking Warren McClendon, tackle out of Georgia. Okay, tackle, Georgia, I'll buy that. Then at 172, it had him taking Luke Haggard, tackle, Indiana. At 182, Darrell Nachami, edge out of Maryland. So with three of their first four picks, this mock draft had the Rams taking three edge performers. And then at number 189 out of Penn State, Juice Scruggs. I'm not against drafting this guy, but he's a center, okay? And how many centers have the Rams drafted in 11 drafts with Les Snead? One. So here they got Juice Scruggs, center, Penn State. Okay, I'm always for offensive linemen, right? Chandler Zavala, guard, North Carolina State at 191. At 211 overall, Shamari Connor, safety, Virginia Tech. Rams always draft safeties, okay. And then 225, Indiana. We already took a tackle from Indiana. They have Caleb Murphy, center. So the Rams in 11 drafts, I don't know who was processing this. In 11 drafts, the Rams have only taken one center, Brian Allen. They didn't even draft Creed Humphrey, right? Didn't even draft Creed Humphrey. And they're going to take two centers in this draft. Yeah. I think someone was just going with best available or something. Because, they weren't thinking about this draft. Because everyone wants to get the good grade on these drafts. At least PFF has a grade. I don't know if Pro Football Network does. I know PFF has a grade. And if you just hit best available, then it comes out your draft's an A or a B plus or something. But you're not really drafting what you need. And then the final draft pick at 252, Jaden Woodby, safety, Boston College. So that would mean the Rams took two safeties in 2022 and take two safeties in 2023. And someone didn't do their homework. Can I just tell you, folks, you're as smart as anybody who sits behind a microphone if you put the work into it, okay? You can do your work, do your studying, and you don't have to take a back seat to anybody, okay? Because there's a lot of guys, and I know this because I worked with some, I've seen some, I've rubbed elbows with some, and they've been in high places. I've seen them. They don't do the work, right? They get a sweet gig, and then they kind of coast. I've had stuff at my small little paper that I worked at lifted by larger papers who thought because we were so small, it didn't make any difference when it was information only we had. So what I say all that for is just because someone has the gig, right? Just because someone's on NFL Network, just because someone's the sideline reporter, respect them, but do your own homework and trust your instincts, and don't let everyone tell you, oh, like you know better. Yeah, sometimes you probably do, okay? Because there's no way the Rams are taking 3 edges, 2 centers, 2 tackles, and 2 safeties and a guard. It just won't break down that way. It just won't. Finally, as we get towards the end, yes. Yeah, I know. I said we're getting to the end, and everyone's happy. Cam DeSilva's Rams Wire mock draft. He used the PFF simulator. It's still the best mock draft I've seen so far. Luke Musgrave, tight end, going at 36. Army's Andre Carter II, going at edge at 69. The trade for Julius Brents at Kansas State, coming and moving up to 103. Antonio Maffi at UCLA, guard, 6'4", 339. I wasn't crazy about the drafting of Aiden O'Connell. I'll admit that. The Purdue quarterback. I think there's other quarterbacks I'd rather dance with. And then Trey Dean, Florida, didn't run a really fast 40 today or this week. And D Winters, TCU, linebacker. And then Travis Dye, running back at USC. But this is the most thoughtful mock draft I've seen by somebody who does this for a living. All right, we hit the 31-minute mark. Again, I'm Joe Tarosian. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for clicking on. And if you could leave a comment, take a link and share it over social media, tag your friends, or just ask questions to help us build our analytics and our footprint, we really appreciate it. I want to say thank you to Paul Kistler and Kistler Law Firm for their advertising, as well as TempleCityAutoRepair.com. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.